So I guess we all kind of saw it coming, but it was confirmed a couple days ago that Spec Ops is going to be the third co-op mode inside Modern Warfare, and this is something that it seems like most people are quite happy about. I get it, people are tired of zombies and all that stuff. I mean, especially for the main audience of Call of Duty, which is definitely the multiplayer audience, they're kind of tired of seeing zombies every single year. I'm not too sure how much zombies players, like the I guess hardcore zombies players, feel about this. I guess you can imagine what they feel like, because I know what my personal opinions are about it. But regardless, with the return of Spec Ops, I do want to question one thing about it, and this is obviously, as you guys saw in the title, is Spec Ops, I guess, good enough to replace what zombies has been inside Call of Duty for the past few titles? And this is something that, if I was just looking back at Spec Ops inside Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3, and maybe even Ghost, because Ghost did have a version of Spec Ops, it was squads, and you guys probably know what it is, and I started thinking about all of those, even Ghost, which was probably the most fleshed out version of all of those, and the more I think about those versions of Spec Ops, it's just, I do not think those are ever good enough to replace what zombies is inside Call of Duty. I mean, they just don't have the same following as zombies, and on top of that, it just is an entirely different type of mode that's really, in the past, really hasn't been that replayable. I mean, nobody really goes back to play Modern Warfare Spec Ops all that often. How many people do you see going back and playing some old Black Ops zombies maps compared to people going back and playing some Modern Warfare Spec Ops maps and even Spec Ops Survival? You just really don't see that maybe at all, but that may not be a fault of Spec Ops itself, because the thing is, and this is the argument that why Spec Ops never really succeeded, is just because it was never given, I guess, the same love as zombies, I guess you could say, because it's just that those Spec Ops games were just really, even the Spec Ops missions, they were ripped straight out of the campaign, or the Spec Ops Survival were just survival on a multiplayer map, and the argument is that they just never got a chance to have its own unique maps or anything like that. And now that maybe inside Modern Warfare it's going to get a ton more, I guess, support for it, and they're going to have their own custom maps, their own custom things just for Spec Ops, and that will actually make it better. And that is, something that I hope is the case. I really hope that's the case. That the reason Spec Ops was just not fun for me in the past is just because you were playing on multiplayer maps. It was just felt like you're playing against bots on multiplayer maps, or just replaying campaign missions. That's honestly my biggest gripe with it. So maybe if they are making custom maps for it, that may make it better. I don't know, but even at the same time, even if they make these custom maps, even if they're doing all these unique things for the Spec Ops mode, it really makes me question, is the gameplay from Spec Ops even anywhere close to what zombies is? Because the reason I feel like zombies work so well inside, I guess, it's Call of Duty, is because it's just a huge contrast in the type of gameplay you are playing inside zombies compared to multiplayer. I mean, multiplayer, you're running around shooting people, other players online, and just stuff like that, where zombies, you just face a bunch of dumb AI pretty much that you hoard up and then kill and then do Easter eggs and stuff like that, to where Spec Ops just always felt too similar to multiplayer for me. It really just feels too similar for it to be anything different, at least in the past. So for me, and for what I think they would have to do to Spec Ops, they would just really have to make it different. I mean, Spec Ops Survival and Spec Ops missions are fun and all, but they really have to do something different, because I don't know what they could do to Spec Ops, that at least have we seen in the past, to make it feel different from multiplayer, because the gameplay is so similar to multiplayer that it just really isn't that special. And that's my main worry with Spec Ops returning in Modern Warfare, that's just going to fall into the exact same thing. Even if it has custom maps, even if it has its own story, the gameplay probably is not going to hold up if it's just like what we've seen in the past. So I'm just hoping that there's something different here, and honestly, I'm hoping that the rumors that went around like a couple months ago is actually right, and maybe this Spec Ops mode is going to be entirely huge, because there were rumors going around that this Spec Ops mode alone could count as its own game, which would be crazy, and that would be amazing. But I'm just hoping that they do something like the open world rumors, the open world so-called leaks. Also, they're probably just rumors that Spec Ops Ops could be playing with. I'd love to see something like that. I just hope they do something special with Spec Ops, and I honestly just can't wait to see what they have, because I currently am just kind of really skeptical about Spec Ops, and I feel like more people should be skeptical about Spec Ops returning as a co-op mode, because I mean, Spec Ops has never been anything that special. It's never been that different, and that's the reason why it was discontinued, and that's why I just don't know how they could really do it. And I'm just hoping they do something different. They do something big. They just make this new type of gameplay that we haven't seen in Call of Duty, or at least Call of Duty's take of this gameplay. So I'm just hoping that we get something special this year. I hope it's not just normal Spec Ops that we've seen in the past. I hope it does something special, like just something different. I don't want to predict what's going to happen in Spec Ops. I just want to see something new and something fun. That's all I really care for. And also a really good story, which I just really hope that's the case, with really good characters. Honestly, I don't really care about the story as much in the co-op modes as much as the characters. The characters are what they need to nail inside the co-op mode, and they can't just be borrowing ones from campaign or multiplayer, because that takes away from the feeling of its own unique story, because that's kind of been a problem with all of the other Spec Ops mode, because everything just feels like there's the leftovers of multiplayer, leftovers of campaign, and I just hope it doesn't feel like that, and we get unique characters, unique voice actors, unique character models. Just everything has to be unique to it to make it feel like it's not just leftovers, and that's just a problem that Zombies has suffered from in the past and even to this day, but it was the reason why Spec Ops was never anything special. Regardless, that's really all I have to say about the Spec Ops. I have been holding off on this video just because I didn't want to make a video right away, just being, you know, overly negative about it, because those were my initial reactions, because I've never been a big fan of Spec Ops. So, you know, I just hope they do something special, they do something new, they just do something crazy with Spec Ops, because that's what they said. They're going to do Spec Ops styled up to 11. So, you know, I'm going to just sit here being skeptical about Spec Ops, but you know, we'll have to wait and see. And the problem is, I don't know when we're going to see any Spec Ops information, and if we even get any before launch. Honestly, we probably only get a trailer, because at this point we haven't even seen campaign stuff, let alone multiplayer and Spec Ops. So, you know, hopefully that all happens soon enough and we could get excited to see that, and hopefully it's great from what we see of Spec Ops. But I've been rambling too long here at the end. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking about Spec Ops. You guys excited for it? If you guys are, what do you guys want out of Spec Ops? That's another question. What do you guys want out of Spec Ops? Because I just don't know what I want out of Spec Ops. I personally just want something new and unique at this point. But regardless, I'd be interested to hear what you guys think about that. But anyways, that's about it for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, go ahead, do all the normal YouTube stuff. Like, subscribe, bell, share, and especially bell. But I'm going to go, and I'll catch you guys next stream, video, or whatever it may be. But laters, guys.